Hello, logical people. People that like to use logic, use their mind to figure things out instead of believing in authorities or believing just because. Um, and don't use your mind to figure things out to see if it's logical or not, or to have any evidence to believe in what you believe. Um, and this is a channel I created for you. So thank you for being here. The subject for today is opinion versus facts. What's the difference? Okay, that's very important today because a lot of times people they don't know the difference between opinion and facts. In fact, even authorities, the people that own these channels, for example, okay, all these internet media, okay, they don't even know the difference between opinion and facts, and that's why they censor others and the guise under the guise that it's community standards. Well, they can define community standards all they want. Yesterday I came across a video where they talk about UFOs. That's my favorite subject. And in the video, of course, they interview a professor, I think a Harvard professor, Avid Loeb, an astronomer. Okay, Avid Loeb is a pretty prominent astronomer, and he studies UFOs now. He takes it seriously. In fact, he's setting up a network of cameras around the world to try to capture these objects and study them objectively. So that's great. Finally, we have some real science, to tackle this issue. So that's very good news. The bad news is, so I was very excited. I clicked on the comment section of this YouTube channel and was going to make a comment, and up appeared. I'm sure this didn't come from YouTube. It came from the channel owner. Up it goes. Reminds people of being respectful, and but it also says something that alarmed me. That illustrates to me that the owner of this channel doesn't understand. He doesn't understand. He says, along with foul language and bullying online and this and that and the other, they're going to delete. He's going to delete those that talk about pseudoscience, right? Pseudoscience, okay? What he doesn't understand is that who defines what pseudoscience is? He does, right? Obviously, because it's his channel. But guess what? A lot of people define UFO as pseudoscience. That's very subject of his channel. There are a lot of people today that still think UFOs is a quack, right? It's pseudoscience. It's not real, It's your, imagination, right? You get scientists like guys like Neil deGrasse Tyson. He laughs every time he laughs so hysterically when the subject of UFOs come up that I question whether he really doesn't believe it, or he's just doing that just to get people to not look at it. He knows something. Maybe he knows he's paid by the authorities to discredit the UFOs subject so that people don't talk about it. Because it's so, he went too far. He went overboard. Yeah, it looks like he has an agenda or something. Because a scientist does not laugh at subjects that he doesn't understand. There may be something there. An objective scientist would say, well, we don't have any direct evidence, or the evidence that I think, is legit or whatever. But there's always a possibility that anything can happen, really, in nature. But we do have a lot of evidence, and I already talked about that in my other videos. We have very, very prominent evidence, very verifiable evidence for the existence of flying saucers, okay, objects that we can't explain using understanding of physics. It's there. I mean, we verify it's proven to be there. But anyways, this video is the subject of this video is about facts versus opinion. Okay, most of the videos you see anywhere, you know, in any media, is our opinion. Okay, an opinion is something that somebody believes. It has no basis in facts at all. It may, most of the time, it's not. It's just their opinion. Okay, and most channels are like that. So that's why I don't understand why you know, these channel owners or the media owners delete people simply because they don't agree with. It's an opinion, people. Okay, if I go out there and film myself saying the boogeyman is real, I saw him, that's my opinion, that's my perception. It's not proven. If I just say it without giving you any evidence whatsoever, then it's my opinion. I can say whatever they want. Supposedly, this is a free country, right? Supposedly, but not anymore, because people start deleting. They're like, the boogeyman is not real. It's not based on science. This and that and the other. Well, shit, it's my opinion. I'm entitled to my own opinion, right? So when you delete something just because you define it as unscientific, not real, pseudoscience, guess what? You are stifling knowledge. As I said before, the subject of UFO used to be pseudoscience. In fact, when Carl Sagan was alive, the famous astronomer, he called UFO pseudoscience, right? But now there's so much evidence that comes out that it's no longer pseudoscience, and I'm sure it's not pseudoscience to the channel owner of this video. That otherwise he wouldn't, you know, have Dr. Avi Loeb, the Harvard physicist, astronomer, to be on there. They're talking about it. So obviously he doesn't consider UFO a pseudoscience. He defined it as not pseudoscience, but it's his opinion again. So if you happen to say have a wild idea, a wild explanation for UFOs that he considers pseudoscience, he's just gonna delete your post. It's censorship. That's what it is. You know, that's what he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand. And most people today don't understand. Censorship is censorship. It doesn't matter. It's like freedom. You're either free or you're not free. There's no in between. You can't say, you can talk about this, but not this. Well, who are you to say not this? Just because you don't like it? It reminds me of the time when I was in school, when I was in grade school in Vietnam. Okay. And I remember the teacher, we went to school on Saturdays too, you know. We had school on Saturdays. It's only 4 hours though, instead of 6 hours. And Saturday we usually do art, okay? And I remember the teacher said, okay, class, today we have free drawing. You can draw anything you want, except cowboys and Indians. So that means she forbid basically half the class of expressing their artistic work, because half the class are boys. And what do boys like? Cowboys and Indians. That's not freedom. You see that? She is censoring half the class. But she didn't know it. She thought it's not art. It's not art to her. But guess what? There are a lot of artists that drew, you know, horses and cowboys on horses and Indians, and it's very artistic. Just because she doesn't like the subject, she's a woman. She has no interest in those subjects. She makes the whole class. So you know what I ended up drawing? Flowers. I didn't like it, but I'm like, well, it's safe. I won't get into trouble for doing that. So I drew flowers and she loved it. Okay? But again, she stifled people's creativity. Half of the class creativity. Because she happened to not like the subject. So she defined it as not fit. Same thing here. If you, just because you don't understand a subject, you don't like the subject, you call it pseudoscience, and therefore you delete it from your channel. You're very narrow-minded. You know that? Whoever did that. Okay? You're narrow-minded because guess what? Guess what? The subject of UFOs often involve so-called pseudoscience. Did you know that? I bet you didn't know that. Okay? Because when they observe these things flying around, okay, it goes into the very, very root of perception and consciousness. You understand that? You don't understand that, do you? So when you say, if it's pseudoscience, you don't want to talk about it, you're going to delete it. You're going to delete that as possible explanation for UFOs. That's not scientific, is it? It's not very scientific, is it? You're not scientific minded at all. You think you are. You have this blinders on. You're like, we can only explain UFOs this way. Physical matter reality. Well, shit. UFOs have been observed to dematerialize. They disappear all of a sudden. Okay? How the freak do you explain that? Can't do it with physical matter reality. You can't do that with Newtonian physics. And they accelerate instantly. They violate Newton's law of inertia. Right? The first law of motion. Inertia. Right? An object, is at rest, remains at rest until another force acts on it. And when it is moving, it will remain in motion unless another force stops it. Okay? So when you're in space and there's no gravity and you push an object in one direction, it will travel forever. Okay? It will travel, keep on going forever until another force acts on it, like a gravity source or something. If it goes by a planet or moon or something, then it curves because of the force of gravity that pulls it in that direction. It's inertia. Okay? So inertia is a tendency for an object to remain in place if it's not moving. Okay? A UFO is known to instantly go from 0 to thousands of miles an hour in a second. How does it do that? If it's an object that has mass. Mass has inertia. How do you explain that? You can't using conventional physics, so-called billiard ball physics, or officially known as classical physics, Newton's physics. The kind of physics that Newton studies. Falling objects. Okay? You can't. So now you're touching on pseudoscience, aren't you? You're touching on things that it's not science. See, that's another thing is he doesn't understand what science is. He thinks that science is Newtonian classical physics. That's what he thinks. Well, that's only half the story. Yeah, it is science. But it can't explain the high energy world, the world of quantum mechanics, the world of particles and waves. It can't explain that. And the world of particles and waves touch on or sounds like, behave like pseudoscience. Pseudoscience. If you understand anything about quantum mechanics, okay, the double slit experiment was what brought quantum mechanics into a subject. Okay, and the quantum double slit experiment showed that it's pseudoscience. It sounds like pseudoscience. Okay, quantum mechanics, the double slit experiment is very much like pseudoscience because it makes no sense. Okay, it has to do with consciousness. Consciousness collapse the wave function. In fact, it is so bizarre that scientists today, most scientists can't even accept it as true, even though they can't explain why. They have no idea why, but they're still not ready to accept that consciousness is what caused the wave collapse. Okay, they have all kinds of evidence, indirect or by indirect evidence, that show that consciousness is. In fact, they isolate everything else And they can't find anything else physical that affects the wave collapse. They isolate all that. They found nothing that could isolate it. And yet they still steadfastly could not accept that it's your consciousness that caused the wave collapse. Okay? They're not ready to accept that. It's been about 200 years almost since that experiment was first conducted. And it's an experiment that's conducted all over the world. It's the most conducted experiments in science. Okay? The double slit experiment in science. Okay? So for this guy to say that you can discuss any science you want, except if it's pseudoscience, then no, you can't. He's closed-minded. He's religious. That's religion. That is not science. Religion says, just like religion says, if it doesn't fit the Bible, then it's not true. Same thing. It's the exact same thing. If it doesn't fit what science understands it as now, which is like the Bible, right, then you can't talk about it because it's not science. You see how ridiculous that is? How ludicrous that is? The guy doesn't know what he's talking about. So I didn't even watch his channel anymore. I like Ivy Lowe because I think he's a very open-minded scientist. Otherwise, he wouldn't risk his credibility and career by studying, UFOs, right? A lot of people still today consider UFO a woo-woo subject. Wow, man, it's out there. They still laugh at you if they still ask you questions like, "What are you smoking, man?" I like to have some of that. Shit like that. Some stupid ass comment like that. Because they still see UFO as a woo-woo subject, as a pseudoscience subject. It's not real. Okay? Even though the latest evidence, I covered this before in my other videos, from the most sophisticated instruments in the history of mankind, military grade radar and infrared and sonar equipment, they detected these objects, so they verified these objects to be real, to be true, out there, real solid objects. They're not mirage. Okay, now they may not know what these objects are, where they came from, but they can infer that, man, we didn't build that. None of our physics book talk about that. None of our curriculum in any college at any level of education, even postgraduate, talk about such a physics. None. Zero whatsoever. And so because these objects are so, their behavior is so unexplainable, people just dismiss it. They're like, well, it must not be there, because no way an object can just disappear like that. Maybe it's your mind play trick on you, your eyes play tricks on you. Even though they now have radar recordings to prove that the object's really there and it really did just disappear. That's pseudoscience, right? So then don't study it, because it's pseudoscience, right? So you don't study it, then how do you know? Then you don't really want to find out what the heck these things are, do you? You don't really want to find out, because it doesn't fit in your preconception of what a flying object should be, right? That's not science. Science is, even Carl Sagan said so, and he contradicted himself, right? He said, we wish to find the truth no matter where it leads. No matter where it leads. If the truth, that's the truth. You don't like to hear it, but that's the truth, right? You don't like to hear that UFOs are real solid objects and that they disappear and appear at will. They're under intelligent control. And you don't know how they fly. You don't know how they levitate like that. You don't want to accept that, but that's real. It's there. It's been proven. So we wish to find the truth no matter where it leads. Where does it lead? It leads to mind-boggling conclusion, and that is, we cannot explain what these things are, but they're there. They're there, and we didn't build them because we have no way of explaining using our scientific knowledge. We have no way of explaining how these things fly. So to most people's minds, then these things must not exist, even though they're right there. That's how humans are, throughout human history. If you look at early humans, same thing. If they see something that's out of their understanding of the world, they will just dismiss it and say, well, it must not be there then. That's how humans, you think that modern humans are more open-minded than that? No, we're not. We're not. So again, back to our subject, opinion versus facts. Facts are supported by evidence, right? And verified using different means of looking at it, different methods, okay? If different methods, using different instruments, using different means, see the same thing, then that thing is real. Am I right? That's why people, when they see something unbelievable, they always say, did you see that? Okay. What they're trying to do is try to verify what they're seeing is really there. Because they don't even believe their own eyes. Right? Did you see that? Am I going crazy? Did you see that? So, but then, scientists would say, well, we all humans. We all have the same design in eyes, and that's why we see the same thing. Doesn't mean it's there. Well, then how do you explain the radar recordings? And how do you explain the infrared recording? A different design, using a different area of the electromagnetic spectrum. How do you explain sonar, which doesn't even use electromagnetic spectrum? It uses sound wave. You can't deny that. Okay? Something is there. That's why these instruments detect them. And these instruments are different designs using different waves. Okay? And they detect the same thing. So it's proven. Whatever it is they detect is there. And whatever it is that they detected did all that, did perform all that, did go from 0 to 80,000 feet in less than a second. That's a fact. Now, how do you explain it? Using conventional physics and engines technology that we have today. We can't. So we have to conclude that we didn't build it. We didn't do it. No, none of our humans can do that. How do we know? What if China does it? If China does it, I guarantee you we'd be speaking Chinese now. If Russia did it, we'd be speaking Russian now. They would have controlled the world. You think that they're not going to use that to control the world? You think they're not going to use that? China's not going to use that to invade Taiwan right now? And instead, they try to go the hard way. They use the conventional weapons so that they have to lose men and machines trying to fight the U.S. to take Taiwan. You know what I'm saying? If they have UFOs, they would use that to take Taiwan just like that. Neutralize all our weapons. And just take it. Easy. But the fact that they don't use that is because they don't have it. Okay? They don't have it. And guess where a lot of what they learn from, the modern science, okay? They learn from the U.S. They send people over here to attend our universities and learn. So if they learn from the U.S. and we don't have it, do you think they have it? Come on, man. These people are just, I don't understand that. I get frustrated with illogical people. Okay, and that's why I started this channel. It's about logic. Logicize, man. Use your brain. Okay? No, UFOs are not drones. Okay? Not human-built drones anyways. A drone, that's another thing what people don't understand. When they think of a drone, they think of the full propeller, go around, remote control these objects, that's this small, and then they have propellers. No. That's one type of drone. Did you know that a drone is any aircraft? Or any remotely controlled vehicle is a drone. Drones have been around forever, really. Back in the 40s, they had drones. Do you know that? I bet you don't know that. The military used drones way back in the 40s. All right? It's just an airplane, okay, that had no humans in it. That's what a drone is. Back before the technology that would allow remote control of drones, they used to have human pilots fly the aircraft up to the point where, they need to use the drone without humans, and the guy jumped out of the airplane in parachutes. Okay? And then the aircraft now becomes a drone because it doesn't have a human pilot in it. Okay? All right? In fact, JFK's brother got killed doing that. He died doing that. Okay? He flew a drone. Okay? But back then, there's no remote control. He actually flew the airplane. And then at a certain point, he jumped out. I think something happened and he got killed. His parachute didn't open or something. So a drone is not a little flying object that, people see. Not necessarily. That's one drone. But a drone can be a 747 airliner that doesn't have a pilot in it, and it's remotely piloted or piloted by a AI, okay, automated. That's what a drone is. That's all what a drone is. Okay. So then when people say it's a drone, as if it's some sort of a special, aircraft that can do all that kind of stuff. No, it can't. It still obey the laws of physics. And as I explained in my other video, there are only two ways humans know how to fly. Only two types of engines: the propeller, okay, or a rocket or a jet. And those behave on very established principles. Propeller works because it works on Bernoulli's principle. The rocket engine and the jet engine works on Newton's third law of motion. Those are the only two ways, only two we know how to use to lift an aircraft into the air, a powered aircraft. Okay, a heavier than air powered flight. Those are the only two. We have no other way of doing it. Zero. Okay? UFOs do not fly like that. They don't have any propellers. They don't have any wings. They don't have any jet engines. They have nothing that spew out of them. Nothing. But yet somehow they fly around. So again, they're not built by humans. Don't know who built it. We went through this in my other video. They're not built by humans. We don't know how to do that. Okay? So with that, I hope you see the difference between opinion, and facts. Opinion is what you think it is. Facts are supported by evidence, verifiable, okay, repeated, verifiable evidence. Don't mix up those stuffs up, okay? Most things you see on YouTube and other media are opinion. People are entitled to their own opinion, okay? Don't delete them. Don't, censor them just because it's their opinion, okay? If you don't believe them, fine, you don't believe them. But don't delete somebody because you don't agree with them. It's very dangerous. And other videos I talk about how dangerous it is to censor people. Societies collapse, humanity go backwards because of censorship. Don't be stupid. Like a lot of people today, they think they're so smart. A lot of owners of these channels and media, they think they're so smart by doing that. They're actually very stupid. They don't understand history. Okay, they super nerd. They only understand how to program a computer, but they don't understand the implication of what they're doing. They think they're doing humanity a favor. In fact, they're destroying humanity by censoring. Okay, you either have zero censor, or you have none. Okay, you either have full freedom, or you have none. There's nothing in between. Because if you have any restrictions, then it's not freedom anymore. Even one little restriction is not freedom. So freedom is complete. You can't have restrictions and you call yourself free. That's not freedom. By definition, you just have restriction right there. You don't have freedom. So, and we're collapsing because of that. Okay? If you don't understand, watch my other videos or read history and you will see. That's the reason why the Constitution says that, you protect your freedom of speech and your freedom to do whatever. That's why. Because the Founding Fathers know, you can't have restrictions and call yourself free. You can't. And you can't have a lasting society when you have restrictions. Because this guy goes into office and restrict this. The other guy goes into office and restrict that. And another girl goes into office and restrict that. And pretty soon we have all kinds of restrictions. Because, well, it offends me. The other guy said, well, that offends me. The girl said, well, that offends me. So then they all put on restrictions, and pretty soon nobody has any freedom. It's their opinion. That's all it is. Not important. If you don't believe it, well, as far as I'm concerned, if you can't provide evidence, you're illegitimate. I don't believe you. And nobody should believe you. Including me. If I can't provide any evidence, then I can't expect people to believe what I say. It's my opinion. But I expect them to not censor me. Okay? It should be illegal. In fact, it is illegal. They just don't enforce it. You know? So, because that's a crime against humanity, actually, if you really think about it. If you understand history, you know it's a crime against humanity to censor people. That is a crime against humanity. Yep, it is. Certainly a crime against human progress, that's for sure. So, once again, thanks for watching, and I hope you understand the difference between opinion and facts, and use your mind as usual. Larger size, figure things out before you believe in something, and always fight for the freedom to express your own opinion, because we are in danger of collapsing as a society, as humanity, because of this, because people don't understand. People in charge just don't understand. And when I say in charge, I don't mean just in charge of the government. I'm talking about in charge of anything, in charge of a business, in charge of, a website or a channel, and they just censor people, delete their posts. They don't understand how dangerous they don't understand they just committed a crime against humanity. So with that, see you next time.